Hey,
Let's let's give it another whirl. I'm
this meeting
so
is being
sorry.
recorded.
Yes, yes, I'm so sorry. Oh
Okay.
my gosh, I'm so sorry. So, listeners and viewers, listen, here's the story. I've already shared it on Facebook as well. Jordan was so gracious to give me an hour of her time this morning, actually over an hour. It was a great conversation. And your host didn't hit record. So so she and I had a great conversation, but you will know none of it. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna
So
have it again.
again,
Yeah, we're gonna have it again. And I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on today. Jordan Granus is with me. I'm really excited to have her. Um, Super appreciative of her patience with me. But Jordan is with the St. Joseph Recovery Center. And they are the ones that sponsor the mobile clinic that come in to Webster County to service this county with mental health, substance abuse disorders. And she is going to help me kind of bust some myths up today that I've just watched all over Facebook. And I thought, hey, let's just get some real answers and see what we can do as a community to embrace this resource to help some of our people. So, Jordan, thank you for coming back with me.
yes, ma'am. No problem at all. Technical difficulties are a way of life.
Gosh, thank you. I appreciate your patience so much. But tell us about yourself, please.
Well, my name, as you said, is Jordan Granus, and I am by background, I have a undergraduate degree in marketing from West Virginia University, and I'm a registered nurse. I actually this fall will complete my studies as a psychiatric and mental health nurse practitioner.
It's wonderful.
And I've been with St. Joseph Recovery Center for about 5.5 years. I've actually been here even since before it was open. So I've been from the ground up and have just been really, really proud
Mm.
of the growth and the increase in services in our coverage area and being able to help more people all the time with
Yeah.
substance use disorder and mental health issues.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you very much. Um, so today we're going to touch on all the services that St. Joseph's Recovery Center offers. We want you to leave today loaded with resources, okay? But we are going to answer a lot of questions that came in about the mobile clinic, and we are just going to, bust up some myths, but also let people know what's available. So hopefully we can help lift the stigma and lift the shame. We don't want shame to isolate anyone and prevent them from getting some help. So tell us about St. Joseph's, what they offer, and you can lead into the mobile clinic services also.
Great. So I will tell you that St. Joseph has two brick and mortar locations. Our home base is actually in Parkersburg, West Virginia. We have 111 beds there of detox and residential substance use disorder and mental health treatment. St. Joseph is a licensed behavioral health center under the West Virginia Department of Health, or a lot of you would know that as DHHR. It's changed names lately, but um, so we're monitored and licensed through the Department of Health. And we have, like I said, we have the big facility in Parkersburg. We have an outpatient program there. And then we have a 24 bed unit. It's called a step down unit. And it is to treat dual diagnosis of mental health and substance use disorder. Um, Here in Nicholas County at Summersville. And then we have two mobile clinics in Parkersburg and three in the Nicholas County office that travel to 16 counties in the state to provide
It's great.
rural areas with access to treatment for substance use disorder and mental health.
Wonderful, wonderful. And as you mentioned last time, which I didn't know about, and I think it's a wonderful service, do you have a designated area for veterans that need assistance?
We do. We have a
Okay.
12 bed units that's dedicated to the healthcare of veterans who need residential treatment for substance abuse and mental health. And we're actually one of the only freestanding facilities in the state to be able to be in the Optum VA network. It's a very, very stringent process to offer the level of care that the VA requires for their veterans. And so we're really honored to be able to provide that type of care for our nation's heroes. And
Mhm.
actually, to give you a little bit of background, our CEO is a former chief of mental health service line at the VA in Beckley. So
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
we have a real special dedication to veterans. And so, um,
Yeah.
I'm very, very proud of, we can follow someone throughout the process from day one of I'm ready to get treatment all throughout detox, residential, intensive outpatient, mobile services. Um, that to me, that's just key is being
Mhm.
able to follow that care team, for that care team to be able to follow you um, throughout the process and not change the people who are providing care because we
Yeah.
don't want anyone to slip through the cracks.
Yeah, I think that's great. I really do. I think it's wonderful. So let's talk about mobile clinic. So it comes to Webster County on Wednesdays
It
from
does.
8 a.m. until 2 p.m. Is that
3
correct?
PM. Yes,
3 p.m.
3
Okay.
PM or even until after we're done.
Okay.
We just stay until the services are complete that day.
Okay. Now, one thing that Jordan had shared with me, and I'm going to have her talk about it a little more. I just think it's wonderful that they have peer recovery coaches. So the driver of the bus is usually a peer recovery coach, or could be. I shouldn't say usually, but could be. So they utilize not only, um, how do I want to phrase it? Not only staff that have went through.
Well, I mean, we have professional staff that,
Okay.
consist of bachelor's and master's level therapists,
Yeah.
and we have medical providers that, we have, right now we have, nurse practitioners, family nurse practitioners, psychiatric nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, everyone who specializes in, addiction, primary care, mental health, all the things, we have that staff, and then we have the peer recovery staff,
Yeah.
which right now, all of my drivers are peer recovery coaches
Mm.
because I just think they provide such a vital
Oh,
resource. You know,
absolutely.
they've been through this.
Yes.
And, when the clients walk in, sometimes the perception of, at day one is, you don't know what I'm going through, but they do.
Yeah. They've been there. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I have a lot of staff in recovery. I have professional staff in recovery. I believe in recovery. I believe
Mm.
that it's possible, it's sustainable long term. And I think that these people that are providing services at St. Joe's are living proof of that. So it's
Yeah.
nice to see, especially in the very beginning stages, that
Yeah.
there's somebody who's been where you're at and they understand what you're going through
Oh,
and can help
sure.
you navigate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in me too. I understand. Yeah, there really is. So, okay. So what is this mystery mobile clinic that rolls into town?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because, one of the biggest jobs that I have, I am the chief clinical operations officer for St. Joseph. So I oversee our programs in Summersville and Parkersburg and the mobile clinics on the clinical side. And so um, the mobile clinics are part of a federal initiative, and it's actually a governor's initiative as well. Um, I'll tell you just kind of where it came from, where the idea blossomed from was we were in the middle of the pandemic and we had our main facility in Parkersburg that was open. And we were having these folks in residential treatment. And then we were following up with them and they weren't maintaining outpatient care. And so, one of the things that's most important when someone is seeking help in recovery is that they continue aftercare services, continue therapy, continue their medical appointments, and any kind of supportive services that we can offer is just vital to you have to work your recovery every day. A very, very wise person told me one time that said, if you're not working your recovery, you're working on a relapse. And I think that's
Oh,
true.
that's good. Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
that's good.
And so, maintaining that aftercare is just key. And
Yeah.
so when we talk to these individuals, we're like, why are you not continuing your care for your recovery? And one of the biggest answers was, I can't get to Parkersburg or I can't get somewhere else that has treatment services available to me, and at the time, like I said, we were in the pandemic, so it was even more limited.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, West Virginia just doesn't have a lot of resources for public transportation. So, our thoughts, we did a lot of research. We said, what can we do to help these people? And the thing that we came up with, and we looked at what other areas were utilizing, and it was mobile clinics. And so and like I said, the governor, we found out later was trying to increase access to mental health and substance use disorder care. And so we created the mobile clinics where we were the first one in West Virginia to do this for substance use disorder, and we are the largest. And so we went into the communities and we said, we'll bring treatment to you. And one of the big obstacles in West Virginia is we have 13% of the workforce that we need in mental health to be able to meet the needs of our current population. And so you have to come up with creative ways to
Yeah.
utilize the resources that we do have as far as people to be able to serve as many of those in need as possible. So we were like, how can we do that?
Mhm.
And so, the mobile clinics, what it is we have 3 staff members on board. Well, 2 staff members, and we have Mako labs. So, when you think of, okay, well, what is a person doing when they go to the mobile clinic? Well, we have 2 peer recovery coaches, and then we have Mako, which is a third-party laboratory provider, and they have their own lab to be able to do blood work, urine drug screens, which are observed and confirmed. They're not St. Joseph employees, but they're a third party, um, and they're nationally accredited. And so we utilize those folks, and then we use video conferencing technology, what you and I are using today, to be able to have um, our providers, like our therapists and our medical providers, at a centralized location. So they may be able to provide care for someone who's in Braxton County or Fayette or Raleigh or, somewhere else
Mhm.
other than in Webster County. And so that allows us to be able to service people in rural locations where we may not, have the resources or need a
Mhm.
full-time brick and mortar location.
Yeah.
And so, our nurse practitioners, our medical providers go out once a quarter. They have face-to-face visits. Um, and we work as a multidisciplinary team. Our peer recovery coaches, supportive counselors, the folks that are there face to face, they report back to the therapist and the nurse practitioners and anyone who's working remotely. And they say, like, anything that we need to know on a face to face basis. This person looks like they haven't been getting any rest. This person was very, very tired today. If we notice any new physical signs that someone's relapsed or that they may need additional help, we're monitoring folks very, very closely.
Mhm.
Um, and so, it's not to say that all the services that someone who's a client of the mobile clinic will receive those services right on the mobile unit. In order to logistically keep the flow running, they may go on and do their urine drug screen and, talk to the peer recovery coach. And then they may talk to the nurse practitioner and their therapist some other time during the week, and that's just because, it's a small area, it's
Yeah.
limited in space, and so in order to maintain privacy and make sure that we get everybody the time that they need, actually in the clinic, we try to schedule those services outside of the time that they're gonna be right there face to face. But now for anyone who doesn't have access to a phone or a computer or anything like that, and they need to be able to utilize our video conferencing or our phones, the equipment is available, and we do have a HIPAA compliant so that they can utilize those services. And that is not going to be a barrier to someone being in our program. You don't
Good.
have to have your own phone. It is helpful. Some people do just because it keeps the flow going, and we can do
Yeah.
those other services, not just on Wednesday from 8 to 3.
Right.
Um, so that we can help more people, but
Mm.
it is very accessible. We do try to take walk-ins most of the time. We are available for same-day appointments and walk-ins, and if we're not, we'll make the effort to make sure that you get those services as soon as possible, because the one thing that I say is, I don't want paperwork or red tape to be the reason why you don't get help.
Yeah.
I want you It's a very, very brave thing to do, to be able to come in and to ask for help and to surrender and say, "I can't do this alone." And if you're
Mhm.
willing to do that, then I'm going to make recovery happen for you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be there to help. And, I realize, there's a stigma associated with this disease. I hope every day to be able to combat that stigma, to educate the community, to let you know that St. Joseph, we are willing and we are dedicated to our mission to be able to serve our community, to be
Mhm.
a good community steward, to provide holistic care. When I say holistic, I mean we want to treat the whole person.
Right. Yeah.
We're not here to provide medication, although, you know, what we follow is the evidence-based practice. That's what we say in this field, but it is from the Surgeon General, from the experts who have researched this disease. We're following all the guidelines that are state and federal guidelines for this type of care. Our clinicians are very, very well educated in this disease, and we want to do everything that we can. We know that medication is not the only tool, it is a valuable tool, and not everyone that comes to the mobile clinic will be on a medication assisted treatment. Of course, we firmly support abstinence based recovery, faith based recovery, any pathway to recovery that makes you happy and healthy and
Mhm.
productive member of society. That's what we want to do. And so we
Absolutely.
utilize all these tools, whether they be, and I can't say like, treating mental health, treating physical health, treating social issues, those things are all very, very important.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
From a case management side, we also provide case management services. We want to make sure that our clients have safe housing, that
Mhm.
they have access to food and water and um
Just
that
basic needs even,
yes,
yes.
social
Those
determinant
have to be
of health,
met. Yeah. Mhm.
and
Yeah.
we wanna make sure that our clients have those available. We can help with driver's license, we can help with Social Security cards, all of the things that sometimes are misplaced or that someone does not have access to in active addiction, and we will help to be able to rebuild those parts of your life and we work with, legal agencies, probation and parole, child protective services, as long as someone is following the parameters of the program, and there are standards and rules set
Yeah.
in place because one of the things of recovery is to build accountability, to form positive coping skills. You know, none of this is a miracle. It is
Right.
hard work every single day.
Mhm. Yeah.
And, we want people to be successful. We want them we have all these resources here and they're at your disposal. So,
Yeah.
I think Webster County and all the counties that we serve, it's really great to be able to have these resources. And
Oh,
I just want to
absolutely.
see the community as a whole embrace that
Mhm.
because when someone is in recovery, it doesn't just benefit that person,
Yeah.
it benefits the community as a whole.
Mhm.
It benefits
Absolutely.
our state,
Yes.
more people that can get out here and not be involved in the legal system, not be involved in social services, be able to maintain a job. And I see it every day.
Mhm.
Our folks are working this program and it does work.
It does.
It
Yeah.
does work. And when they have those resources, and one of the biggest myths that I see is, that there's so much recreational drug use. Um, Most of the time, what you see is folks that are out here struggling with untreated mental health, undiagnosed traumatic things that have gone on in their
Mhm.
life and are self medicating.
Yeah.
And I don't want those people to suffer in silence. I want
Great.
them to be able to get the treatment that they need to be able to have, to live a productive and healthy life. I mean, because it is possible.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, being able to come into Webster County, we're so thankful for the support that we receive, and we really want to be a good community steward.
Mhm.
Um, don't want anyone to think that we're coming in there and we're just, handing out medication to clear that up. There is no medication on the mobile unit. There is not and never has been. Our prescribers do electronic prescribing, and so there's never a prescription pad. There's never any kind. The only medication that is on the mobile unit is Narcan.
Mhm.
And that is a rule. That is the way it will always be.
Mhm.
We wouldn't want to put our staff at risk or anyone in the community at risk. And so that's one big myth that I want to clear up.
Yeah.
And another thing that I want to say is, we're not, although harm reduction is part of medical treatment when it comes to substance use disorder, we're not considered harm reduction. We are medical treatment. We are behavioral health care. And so, there is no needle exchange program. There are not needles and medical supplies like that. The only thing that would be was what we have in stock for Mako, and Mako doesn't distribute anything like that. They do draw blood because we do check for secondary disorders.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, with IV drug use, there are sexually transmitted diseases,
Yeah.
diseases that folks get from dirty needles, um, but
And
anything like
even
that.
I'm
Go
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but even
ahead.
sometimes the lifestyle that they're in, they're not taking care of themselves. So there very well could be something else going on. If it is,
There is, and it's really important to treat those things because
yeah,
there are physical consequences. And if you
yeah,
don't feel well, then how
yes,
do you feel like working your recovery? And
right,
so
right.
we recognize, like, we'll make sure that someone gets the resources in place to take care of their diabetes,
Yeah.
to get their blood pressure treated,
Hmm.
any kind of physical issue that's going on, hepatitis treatment,
Hmm.
really, really important things that can affect you physically
Yeah.
and make you not feel like,
Putting in
staying
the
sober.
work to get better. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really important. And, that the mental health care is a huge piece of that too,
Yes.
because, if you're suffering from depression, anxiety, a big thing with methamphetamines is like attention deficit.
Hmm.
um, and making sure, we don't treat with any type of stimulants, but we can help folks in therapy to make sure that they're getting the therapy that they need to develop positive coping skills for any kind of mood disorder, depression, anxiety, things like that. We want people to be able to feel good, to
Yeah.
feel like when they get up in the morning that they can focus on it, that they don't have these distractions by
Mhm.
mental health issues.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful. When the lab is doing the testing, they do some blood draws, but they also do urinalysis. Explain to everyone again. I thought this was super fascinating. What can be detected from a urine test? I mean, it's pretty
It's gotten really
extensive.
complex.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's
pretty
really gotten complex because
extensive. Wow.
urine drug screening, and it's just amazing, and I love this part of it because, we can make sure that A, that you're not using someone else's specimen,
Hmm.
B, that you're taking your medication in the dosage as prescribed because we look at the metabolites,
Hmm.
and and see that we can look at to make sure that you're taking the medication in the frequency that it was prescribed.
Yeah.
And so, we can make sure that someone is taking their mental health medications, that they're not missing dosages there, that they're compliant with the program. Uh, and we can even do what's called gene site testing. If we have someone that comes in with depression and anxiety and they're like, oh, I've tried X, Y, and Z and none of these things work. Well, what we can do is we can send off this gene site, and it's reimbursed by Medicaid. Medicaid will take care of this. And so we can have gene testing done to make sure that we know what type of antidepressant or um, you know, uh, psychiatric medication will work best.
Hmm.
And so it takes out the trial and error,
Yeah.
um, the length of time that the person can get to feeling better is shorter. And so that's a really neat thing that we have available as far as, in our laboratory services. It really does help. And I've seen people get better so much quicker and not have to try and fail on
Hmm.
so many medications for their mental health. But there is just I've worked in medication assisted treatment and in substance use disorder treatment for a long time, and the way that urine drug screens have progressed, and there is not folks that are in this program have to be compliant.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
do.
That's amazing to me. I thought, gosh, that's a lot.
And I just think that that's great because,
Oh,
you have people
absolutely.
that are so, so dedicated to their recovery, but anybody who might be struggling, and I don't mean that it's not because they're not dedicated, but they may just still be struggling.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're able to say, all right, it looks like you haven't been taking your medication,
Hmm.
or, you know, um, what can we do to
Yeah.
help you? And, a lot of times there are consequences in the program. We have pretty strict rules because, not because we ever want to be punitive, because we understand that this is not a moral failing or a behavior problem. And, that's one of the biggest things that I really don't like to hear out in the community is, well, so and so doesn't want to they don't they don't wanna do this. Well, I will guarantee you that they do.
Yeah.
They don't know how,
Mhm.
but this disease is so ugly, it's not fun, it's not recreational.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I always
It's
say no one hates you worse than you hate yourself if
yes,
you're
that's
in this situation.
exactly what I was thinking. No one hates an addict more than the addict. I mean,
Yeah,
the
and that's true.
torment they live in every day.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I can't say enough that it's not about willpower.
Right.
It really is about having a chronic brain disease, and that's what, the Surgeon General and the American Society of Addiction Medicine, they consider this a chronic brain disease. And so if you think of it like that, that someone's neural pathways in their brain are actually altered by the use of illicit drugs, and what what Suboxone or Vivitrol or, these medication-assisted treatments do is it fills those neural pathways so that the brain is not, like, flashing red lights, cravings, and the person can actually focus on healing, and it gives the brain time to heal.
That's
And
so good.
so, it takes the cravings away, it doesn't provide euphoria, nobody's high. I see folks every single day that are great parents, that are great employees, that are really functioning very, very well, and
Mhm.
they're able to do it because they don't have that craving, they
Yeah.
don't have the desire to go out and find illicit drugs, um, and they are able to focus on their recovery
Yeah.
and
So
work it
good.
every day. And so that's a great tool, and
Mhm.
it does not exempt someone from doing the hard work, because in active addiction, there are negative coping skills and things that happen, you know, um, instant gratification, from using drugs. And so, we work on that in therapy and our whole team works together to make sure that like we've got all these supports. We've got the spiritual, the physical, the mental, the behavioral support, all the things that we can do to help someone in the healing process. And if they're not able to navigate that, that's the great thing that I was saying is we can follow someone throughout the continuum of care. We don't just let someone flail in an outpatient program and continue to use illicit drugs, we make sure that like, okay, do they need increased treatment? And what that means is, do they need to get more than once a week therapy? Do we need to intensify our services? Do we need to give them more frequent urine drug screens? Um, what are we missing? Like, why are you not able to be successful right now?
Yeah.
Do we need to do more intensive mental health evaluation? And then if that doesn't work, more intensive in an outpatient program, we have an intensive outpatient program. That's a 12-week, I like to call it like a reset. And
Mhm.
so 12-week program where they can participate virtually or in person here in Summersville or Parkersburg. And they go to 11 hours of clinical services that week. It's group and individual services. And for 12 weeks, they get just a really intensive program. And that can help a lot of people that, maybe are struggling in outpatient,
Mhm.
but really can't just commit and drop everything to come to residential treatment.
Yeah.
And so I love that piece. And then, if neither one of those things are working, maybe it's time to come to detox and residential treatment and get that as a stepping stone, remove yourself from temptation, from any negative environments and be able to just take the time to work on you.
Yeah.
Um, so, we don't just I do want to make that clear is we don't just, write prescriptions and push someone out the door. You may not be receiving all your services right there at the mobile clinic, but they are receiving services every week, are participating, and when our team works together and we meet every single week to discuss clients who might be struggling and we say what's appropriate, what do we need to do next? What
Yeah.
what do these people
So
need
good.
to be successful?
Mhm.
And so we keep a really, really close eye on how people are doing in our programs.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why I say that it was so important to me when I got involved with St. Joseph that there was that continuum there because
Mhm.
there is a stigma. And
Yeah.
when our clients are comfortable with us, they know that we're not judging them for their disease. Um, they definitely don't slip through the cracks.
Yeah, that's so good. I liked it too that you shared, yes, people can get assistance with substance abuse disorder, but also mental health issues that don't involve that. If someone's struggling in another area, they can still receive services.
Oh, yeah, and, like I said earlier, we are a licensed behavioral health center.
Hmm.
We have psychiatric nurse practitioners, providers that provide primary mental health care. So, technically, we treat adults, it's 18 and up for St. Joseph, and so but we have mental health providers that provide care, at our brick and mortar locations for just primary mental health care.
Yeah.
Um, and, we also, for adults, can provide that primary mental health care on the mobile units.
Mm.
And so, I think that's very, very important
Yeah.
because, you think of St. Joseph Recovery Center as addiction, but, we are, like I said earlier, there is a very limited number of mental health
Mhm.
providers in the area. And so we want to fully utilize those resources too.
Yeah. Now, does there ever come a time though when someone is in the program and you've tried to work with them, you've exhausted every option of assistance for them? Is there a time when it has to come to an end, when you have to discharge them from your services?
There is, and we try everything that we can before
Mhm.
we do that. We're ethically and legally required to make sure that we tried to adjust the program, we tried to offer a higher level of care, and so we do that. But there are certain times when that opportunity is just the
Just-
person who's not willing. And
Yeah.
that's unfortunate, it does happen. There are times when as a team and we take it very, very seriously because we know that the drugs
Yeah.
that are out there are deadly, and
Hmm.
we don't want to see anyone die from this disease. But we also, we want to provide safe and ethical care. And
Hmm.
so if someone's not willing to come to residential treatment or increase their services, they're continuing to use illicit drugs and not follow the parameters of the program. Unfortunately, there are certain times when we do have to discharge someone from our services.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I try my best. And we as a team, I look at all of those as a clinical officer. I make sure did we offer intensive outpatient? Did we offer residential treatment?
Yep.
What have we done to treat this person's mental and physical needs?
Hmm.
Is there something else that's going on? I, we don't think of homelessness as being a big problem in West Virginia, but a lot of these folks are struggling with either
Yeah.
unsafe or lack of housing and access to food, and
Hmm.
you know, um, it's like, well, you think in your mind, well, then why are they continuing to use drugs? But sometimes there's that hopelessness and
Yeah.
helplessness
Hmm.
that I think that these start to self-medicate.
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
I want to make sure that those needs are met and that before we discharge someone that we've done everything because in my mind, that where there's life, there's hope.
Yeah.
And,
I love
and
that. I think that's great.
every single day. And
Yeah.
so it's not to say that there's not consequences because a lot of
Right.
times there are. And a lot of times, even when someone is working their recovery, they're suffering the consequences of their actions simultaneously.
Hmm.
And that's why, we work with legal agencies. And
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that someone in recovery can do is admit that I did these things.
Hmm.
Where I am today is because of what I did.
Yeah.
And, when you can realize that and move forward, that's pretty powerful, big stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. And I would I would just add as an outsider, like I'm not affiliated with St. Joseph's, nothing. I'm just trying to maybe be a liaison between the misunderstood and what is the true available, resources and information. But just
And
as
I
a
appreciate
community,
that.
oh, thank you. But as a community, and I do keep focusing on Webster County because that's where I live, and that's kind of what sparked the need to know more about these services, is just seeing some of the information out there. But I just look at it too as like we as a community are offered this opportunity to embrace people that need help. It will benefit the community in the long run. The more help people get, I mean, that's going to cut down on crime. It's going to cut down on just so much, and then we'll
No,
have
but
these.
it's true.
It
And,
is.
this disease is gonna be here whether
Yeah,
St. Joseph is in your community or not.
yes,
And the more we ignore it, the bigger monster it becomes.
exactly.
And it affects us all, you
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
myself, I don't have any history of of drug abuse in my history,
Mhm.
not personal, but we all know somebody who's been affected.
Oh, yeah.
And, the more that we say, we stigmatize this population and we choose to ignore it or we
Yeah,
don't want, I hear so often, well, I don't want a treatment center in my back door. Well, why?
yeah,
Because, you know, my patients are actively engaged in treatment. They're
yeah,
trying to improve themselves. They don't want to be sick anymore.
yeah,
And, I think that effort should be rewarded by a community. We should be
for
embraced.
sure.
We
Yeah,
want people to be in treatment and not in
yes,
addiction because of lack of resources.
yeah,
And, we're here, like I said before, we're here to be community stewards.
yeah,
We love the communities that we're in. We want to
yeah,
make them better. We want to make people well, contributing by being part of the workforce.
mhm,
Everywhere I go,
yeah.
there's a lack of workforce.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I have all these able-bodied individuals that, when they're well, they're ready and willing. Like,
Mhm,
I've been doing a lot of, research on our outcomes, and just the amount of people that are back in the workforce is
mhm.
awesome.
Yes, yeah,
And
absolutely.
so I wanna be a part of that,
Yeah.
want to make people well so that they feel like going to work every day and they feel like contributing. And, if I can use every tool in my toolbox, I'm going to do that,
Let's
you
do
know?
it, let's do it, I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Okay, we are almost at 40 minutes. Let's disconnect and reconnect, and then I'll wrap it up, and I won't keep you anymore today.
Okay, no problem at all.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.